Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Imagine that you are 80 years old. You are sitting quietly and thinking about your life. Now imagine that your older self can ask you one question, just one. The question is, did you become someone you could respect? Not someone rich, not someone famous, not someone perfect, just someone you could honestly respect. How would you answer? This question sounds simple, but it is very important. Many people spend years trying to make other people happy, but deep inside, most people want to feel proud of themselves. That feeling starts with self-respect. Self-respect is not something you can buy. It is not something another person can give you. It grows from your daily choices, your habits, and the promises you keep to yourself. In today's lesson, we will talk about how to earn self-respect through simple daily actions. No difficult advice, no magic answers, just simple ideas that you can use every day. And while you listen, you will also improve your English with easy and natural language. Before we start, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and join our learning community. Now, let's begin. Chapter 1. What self-respect really means in simple life. Self-respect is one of those things many people talk about, but very few people truly understand. You may hear this word in videos, in books, or from older people, but still feel confused about what it really means in daily life. Let me make it very simple for you. Self-respect is how you treat yourself when nobody is watching. It is not about showing others that you are strong. It is not about acting proud. It is not about proving anything. It is about the quiet way you choose yourself, again and again, in small moments of life. And the truth is, most people lose it without even realizing it. Think about your normal day. You wake up, you talk to people. You go to school or work. You meet friends or family. Everything looks normal from outside. But inside, many people are slowly ignoring their own feelings. For example, you feel tired, but still say yes to help someone. You feel uncomfortable with someone's words, but still smile and stay quiet. You want to say something, but you stop yourself because you are scared of what they will think. These small moments look very simple, but they slowly shape how you see yourself. And that is where self-respect starts or ends. When you always ignore your own feelings, your mind starts learning something very dangerous. It starts believing that your feelings are not important. At first, you do it once in a while. You think it is okay. You tell yourself, I will speak next time. But next time never comes. Slowly, it becomes a habit. You start adjusting everything for others. You start bending your time, your energy, your comfort, and even your happiness just to avoid conflict or to make people like you. And without noticing, you move away from yourself. Now here is something very important to understand. People will not always notice that you are losing your self-respect. In fact, many people will be happy because you are easy to deal with. You never say no, you never argue. You never create problems. But inside you, something feels heavy. You feel tired for no clear reason. You feel used sometimes. You feel like people do not truly understand you. And slowly, you also stop understanding yourself. Self-respect begins when you start listening to your own thoughts again. Not the thoughts that come from fear, but the real thoughts under that fear. Like when you feel something is wrong, but you stay quiet. That small voice inside you is very important. It is your inner guide. When you ignore it again and again, you disconnect from yourself. But when you start listening to it, even in small things, you start coming back to yourself. Let us understand it in a simple way. Imagine you are very tired and you really want rest. But someone calls you and asks for help. You say yes immediately. Even though your body is saying no, now helping others is a good thing. But ignoring your own limits every time is not. Self-respect means you also matter in your own life. It means your time has value. Your energy has value. Your peace has value. If you forget this, other people will also forget it slowly. Another important part of self-respect is how you react when someone does not treat you well. Many people think self-respect means fighting or shouting, but that is not true. Real self-respect is calm. It is clear. It is simple. It is saying to yourself, I do not like this, and I will not continue this pattern. Sometimes it means speaking up. Sometimes it means walking away. And sometimes it simply means not reacting, but changing your future response. You should also understand one more truth. People teach others how to treat them. If you accept everything without saying anything, people assume it is okay. Not always because they are bad, but because there is no signal that something is wrong. That is why self-respect is also communication. It is showing your limits in a peaceful way, not to control others, but to protect yourself. There is also an emotional side to this. When you lose self-respect, you slowly start losing confidence too. You may not notice it at first, but later, you start doubting yourself. You start thinking, maybe I cannot do better. Maybe this is all I deserve. These thoughts are not true. They are just the result of ignoring yourself for too long. When you do not respect your own voice, your confidence becomes weak. Because confidence is not something outside. It grows from how much you trust yourself. But here is the good part. Self-respect can be rebuilt. It is not lost forever. It can start again from very small actions, from one small moment where you choose yourself. Maybe you say no once. Maybe you speak one honest sentence. Maybe you stop tolerating one thing that hurts you. These small moments may feel small, but they are powerful. Because every time you choose yourself, you send a message to your mind that you matter. And slowly, something changes. You stop feeling guilty for having needs. You stop feeling bad for setting limits. You stop over-explaining everything. You start feeling more stable inside. Not because your life becomes perfect, but because your relationship with yourself becomes better. That is real self-respect. So before moving forward in this journey, just understand this one thing deeply. Self-respect is not something people give you. It is something you build inside yourself through your daily choices. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is quiet. But it is powerful enough to change your entire life from inside. Chapter 2. The silent ways you lose self-respect every day. Most people think they will lose self-respect in a big moment, like a failure, a breakup, or a huge mistake, but that is not how it really happens. Self-respect does not break in one day. It disappears slowly, quietly, in small daily moments that feel normal. And that is why most people do not even notice it is happening. Let us talk honestly here. You wake up in the morning and already feel tired, but you still push yourself to do everything for others. Someone asks for help and you immediately say yes, even when your schedule is already full. You feel uncomfortable with a situation, but you stay silent because you do not want to create tension. These things look small, but they are not small for your mind. They are messages, and every message tells your mind one thing again and again, that your needs come last. At first, you may not feel anything. You think you're just being nice. You think you're a good person. And yes, being kind is good, but there is a thin line between kindness and self-neglect. When you cross that line again and again, you slowly start forgetting your own value. You stop checking how you feel. You stop asking yourself, do I really want this? Or am I just doing it to please someone? One of the biggest silent killers of self-respect is saying yes when you want to say no. Think about it. Someone asks you for a favor. You are already tired. You already have work. But still you say yes. Why? Because you do not want them to feel bad. Or you are scared they will think you are rude, or you just want to avoid discomfort. So you sacrifice your own peace to protect someone else's comfort. and this becomes a habit. Another silent habit is apologizing too much. Some people say sorry for everything, even when it is not their fault, even when they just exist in a space. Over time, this trains your mind to believe that you are always wrong. And when your mind believes that, your self-respect becomes weak without you realizing it. There is also something very common: staying in situations where you are not respected. Maybe a friend keeps joking in a way that hurts you. Maybe someone talks to you in a rude tone. Maybe people interrupt you again and again. You feel it inside. You feel uncomfortable, but you stay quiet. You laugh it off. You ignore it. And every time you ignore it, you teach yourself that your discomfort does not matter. Now, here is something important. Your mind is always learning from your actions, not your thoughts, your actions. So when you repeatedly ignore yourself, your mind learns that you are not important. This is how self-respect slowly disappears, not in one moment, but in repeated silence. Many people also lose self-respect by over-explaining everything. They feel the need to justify every decision. If they say no, they explain for 5 minutes. If they cancel something, they give a long reason. If they make a choice, they need approval. This slowly creates a mindset where your decisions feel incomplete without permission from others, and that weakens your inner confidence. Another silent pattern is ignoring your own rest. You keep pushing yourself beyond limits. You do not rest when you are tired. You do not stop when you need a break. You ignore your body signals, and slowly your mind starts believing that your comfort is not important. But the truth is simple. If you never respect your own limits, nobody else will learn to respect them either. Now listen carefully to this part. People are not always trying to hurt you. Most people are just following what you allow. If you always say yes, they will keep asking. If you never speak up, they will assume everything is fine. If you always adjust, they will keep adjusting you out of your own space. Not because they are bad, but because there is no signal from you. And here is the emotional truth. Every time you ignore yourself, you feel a small pain inside. You may not notice it clearly, but it builds up. That feeling of being tired, that feeling of being unseen, that feeling of why am I always the one adjusting? That is your self-respect trying to speak to you. But most people silence it again. They distract themselves. They say this is normal. They say this is life. But deep inside, they feel disconnected from themselves. That is the cost of small, repeated neglect. Now let us shift the perspective. Imagine what happens if you start noticing these patterns. Imagine you pause before saying yes. Imagine you allow yourself to say no without guilt. Imagine you stop explaining your every choice. Imagine you speak once when something feels wrong. These are small actions, but they completely change your internal world because self-respect is not built in big moments. It is built in small decisions. It is built when you choose rest over pressure, when you choose honesty over approval, when you choose silence only when it protects your peace, not when it hides your voice. And slowly, something powerful starts happening. You begin to feel lighter. You stop feeling mentally crowded. You stop feeling like you're living for everyone else. And you start feeling like you're finally living with yourself, not against yourself. So remember this deeply. Self-respect is not lost suddenly. It is lost in silent habits, in small yeses, in hidden discomfort, in ignored feelings. But the good news is, it can also be rebuilt in the same small way. One choice at a time, one moment at a time. Chapter 3, Boundaries are your personal respect line. Now you are going to understand something that can change your whole life in a very simple way. It is called boundaries. Many people hear this word, but they do not really understand it in daily life. So let me make it easy for you. A boundary is just a clear line in your mind that says this is okay for me and this is not okay for me. That is it, nothing complicated. But this simple idea is what protects your self-respect in real life. Think about your daily life again. People talk to you, ask things from you, expect things from you, and you respond. But the question is not only what others are doing. The real question is, what are you allowing? Because in most cases, people do not cross your limits suddenly. They slowly step over them. One small step at a time. And if you do not stop it early, it becomes normal. For example, someone starts calling you at any time they want. First it is okay, then it becomes late night. Then it becomes every day. You feel uncomfortable, but you say nothing. Why? Because you do not want to create a problem. Or you think maybe it is fine, but inside you feel disturbed. That feeling is important. That is your boundary trying to speak. Or imagine a friend who always takes your help, but never respects your time. At first you help happily, but slowly it becomes one-sided. You start feeling tired, you start feeling used, but you still say yes because you do not want to lose the relationship. So you ignore your own feeling again. And every time you ignore it, your self-respect becomes a little weaker. Here is something very important you need to understand. People are not always testing you. Most people are just reacting to what you allow. If you never say no, they assume yes is your answer. If you never show discomfort, they assume everything is fine. If you never set limits, they assume there are no limits. This is how human behavior works. Now you may feel, but if I say no, people will feel bad, or they will stop talking to me, or they will think I am rude. This fear is very common, but let us understand something clearly. Saying no does not make you a bad person. It makes you an honest person, and honesty is part of self-respect. When you do not have boundaries, your life slowly becomes controlled by others, not directly, but indirectly. You start adjusting your time. You start adjusting your energy. You start adjusting your choices. And slowly you forget what you actually want. That is the hidden cost of having no boundaries. Now listen carefully to this emotional truth. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you feel a small pressure inside. You may ignore it. You may smile over it. But it stays there. And after some time, it turns into frustration. That frustration is not about others. It is about you not protecting yourself. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about keeping yourself safe inside relationships. They help you stay real. They help you stay honest. And most importantly, they help you stay connected to your own feelings. Let us make it even simpler. If something feels okay for you, you allow it. If something does not feel okay for you, you do not allow it. This is a boundary. You do not need anger. You do not need fights. You just need clarity, calm clarity. For example, if someone talks to you in a rude tone, you can calmly say that you do not like it. If someone keeps disturbing your peace, you can reduce your availability. If someone keeps crossing your time, you can step back. These are not big actions, but they are powerful actions because they protect your self-respect. At first, when you start setting boundaries, people may react. Some may not like the change. Some may question you. Some may even try to test you again. This is normal, because they are used to the old version of you. But you are not doing anything wrong. You are just finally respecting yourself. And here is something you must remember. People who truly respect you will adjust. They may take time, but they will understand. And people who only liked you because you had no boundaries may step back. And that is not loss, that is clarity. It shows you who respects you and who only benefits from your silence. Now think about your past. How many times did you feel uncomfortable but stayed silent? How many times did you want to say something but stopped yourself? How many times did you adjust just to avoid conflict? You do not need to feel guilty about it, but you need to become aware of it, because awareness is where change begins. When you start setting small boundaries, something interesting happens inside you. You start feeling stronger. Not loud stronger, quiet stronger. You start trusting yourself more. You start feeling that your voice matters. And slowly, your self-respect starts growing again. You will also notice that your relationships become more real. Not perfect, but real. Because now people are not guessing your limits. They are seeing them clearly, and real respect only exists where clarity exists. So remember this simple truth. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. You decide who enters, how long they stay, and how they behave inside your space. And when you control your own space, you naturally protect your self-respect. Start small. One situation. One small no. One small honest feeling. That is enough. Because self-respect is not built in one day. It is built in moments where you choose yourself without fear. Chapter 4. The way you talk to yourself is your real identity. Now I want you to look at something very close to you, not people around you, not your situation, but your own voice inside your mind. Because that voice is always there, every day, every moment. And most people do not even notice how powerful it is. You talk to yourself more than anyone else in the world. Even if you are silent outside, inside your mind there is always a conversation going on. And the truth is simple. The way you talk to yourself slowly becomes the way you see yourself. Think about your normal day. You make a mistake, maybe something small. Maybe you forget something or fail in something. Now, what do you say to yourself in that moment? Do you say, "It is okay, I can try again"? Or do you say, "I am so stupid, I always mess things up"? This difference looks small, but it changes everything inside you. Many people do not realize this, but they are very harsh to themselves. If someone else makes a mistake, they understand it, they forgive it. But if they make a mistake, they attack themselves, again and again. And slowly this becomes a habit of self-criticism. Now here is something important. Your mind believes what you repeat. If you keep telling yourself negative things, your mind starts treating them as truth, even if they are not true. So when you say, "I am not good enough" again and again, your mind slowly starts acting like it is real. And this is how self-respect slowly breaks from inside. Not because others are hurting you, but because you are hurting yourself with your own words. Let us go deeper. Imagine a small child who is learning something new. The child makes mistakes, of course. But if you keep telling that child you are useless, you cannot do anything, you will fail every time, what will happen? That child will lose confidence. The same thing happens inside you when you talk to yourself in a harsh way. But now imagine the opposite. Imagine you speak kindly to that child. You say it is okay, try again, you are learning. That child slowly becomes confident. This is exactly how your mind works too. You are that child inside. Now let us talk about real life. Many people say things like, "I always fail. I am not smart. I cannot do anything right." These are not facts. These are just thoughts. But when you repeat them, they become beliefs. And beliefs shape your actions. And actions shape your life. So if your inner voice is negative, your life starts feeling heavy. You start doubting yourself before even trying. You start feeling weak, even when you're not weak. And slowly your self-respect goes down. But if your inner voice becomes supportive, something changes. You start feeling stronger. You start trying again, even after failure. You start trusting yourself little by little, and that is where real self-respect begins. Now listen carefully to this part. Self-talk is not about fake positivity. It is not about lying to yourself. It is about being fair to yourself. There is a big difference, for example. Instead of saying "I am a failure," you can say "I failed in this moment." That is true, but it is not your identity. Instead of saying "I am useless," you can say "I need to improve." That is also true. But it gives you space to grow. This small change in language changes everything. Because now you are not attacking yourself. You are understanding yourself. And understanding is the beginning of respect. Another important thing is how you react after mistakes. Many people repeat their mistakes in their mind again and again. They replay it like a movie. They judge themselves again and again. This does not help. It only increases stress and lowers self-respect. Instead, you can ask yourself a simple question. What can I learn from this? This question is powerful because it shifts your mind from punishment to growth. And when your mind grows, your self-respect grows too. Now let us be honest. Changing self-talk is not easy. Because your old habits are strong, you may still catch yourself thinking negatively. That is normal. Do not fight it too hard. Just notice it and slowly replace it. Even small changes matter. If you change one negative sentence into a better one each day, your mind starts learning a new pattern, and over time, that becomes your new normal. You should also understand something very deep here. If you do not respect yourself in your thoughts, it becomes very hard to respect yourself in real life, because everything starts inside first. When you respect yourself in your thoughts, you stop accepting disrespect from others easily. You start standing a little firmer. You start feeling a little stronger. Not because the world changed, but because you changed your inner voice. So ask yourself honestly, if someone spoke to you the way you speak to yourself sometimes, would you feel respected or hurt? This question can open your eyes. Now imagine a life where your inner voice supports you. Even when you fail, it says try again. Even when you are confused, it says you are learning. Even when you feel low, it says you are still valuable. That kind of inner voice builds strong self-respect from inside. So from today, do not ignore your self-talk. Listen to it, notice it, and slowly guide it. Because the way you speak to yourself is not just words. It is your identity being shaped every single day. Chapter 5. Discipline is self-respect in action. Now we are going to talk about something very real, something that shows your self-respect in action, not just in thoughts. That thing is discipline. Many people think discipline means strict rules or pressure, but that is not true. Discipline is simply doing what you said you would do, even when you do not feel like doing it. Let us understand this in a simple way. You make promises to yourself every day, big or small, like I will study today, I will wake up early, I will stop wasting time. I will start working on my goals. These promises are important. But what happens most of the time? You break them. Not always, but often enough to notice. At first, it feels small. You say, I will do it tomorrow. Or you say, I am too tired today. Or you say, one more time is fine. But slowly, this becomes a habit. And without realizing it, you start breaking trust with yourself. Now think about this deeply. If someone else keeps breaking promises to you again and again, what happens? You stop trusting them. The same thing happens inside you. When you keep breaking promises to yourself, your mind slowly stops trusting you. And when you stop trusting yourself, your self-respect becomes weak. This is why discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being honest with yourself. It is about building self-trust. Every time you follow through on a small promise, you are telling your mind, I can rely on myself. Now let us talk about daily life. You plan to study for 1 hour, but you get distracted and stop after 10 minutes. You plan to exercise, but you skip it. You plan to finish work, but you delay it. These are small moments, but they add up. And here is the hidden truth. Every time you choose comfort over your own promise, your mind remembers it. It does not forget. Slowly, it starts believing that your words are not serious. And when your own words lose value, your self-respect also goes down. But the good news is this: you can rebuild it. Very slowly, very simply. You do not need a big change, you just need small, consistent actions. For example, if you say you will study for 10 minutes, then do it. Even if it is small, If you say you will wake up at a certain time, try your best to do it. If you say you will finish one task, complete it. These small wins are very powerful. Because discipline is not about doing everything. It is about doing something consistently. Even a small action repeated daily can change your entire mindset. Now let us talk about motivation. Many people wait for motivation. They say, I will do it when I feel like it. But motivation is not stable. It comes and goes. Some days you feel strong, some days you feel lazy. That is normal. But discipline is different. Discipline works even when motivation is not there. It is the ability to act based on your decision, not your feeling. And this is where real self-respect is built. Because every time you act without depending on feelings, you prove something to yourself. You prove that you are in control of your actions. Not your mood, not your laziness, not your distractions. And this creates something very powerful inside you, self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of self-respect. Let us go deeper. When you keep your promises to yourself, you start feeling proud quietly. Not in a loud way, but inside. You start feeling stable. You stop doubting yourself so much. You start believing that if you decide something, you can do it. But when you break your promises again and again, something opposite happens. You start feeling confused about yourself. You start thinking, why can't I do what I say? You start losing confidence in your own decisions. This is why discipline is not punishment. It is respect. It is you telling yourself, I matter enough to keep my own word. Now here is something very important. You do not need to change your whole life in one day. That is not realistic. Start small, very small. If you want to read, read 5 pages. If you want to study, study for 10 minutes. If you want to exercise, do a small workout. The size does not matter. The consistency does, because every small action builds a strong identity. The identity of a person who does what they say. And slowly, people around you also start noticing a change. But more importantly, you notice it. You start respecting yourself more. Because you're finally showing yourself that your words mean something. Now listen carefully to this. Discipline will feel uncomfortable at first, because your mind is used to choosing easy options. It will try to pull you back. It will say, skip today, rest today, do it later. This is normal. But every time you choose discipline over comfort, you grow stronger inside, not physically, only mentally, emotionally. You build a stronger version of yourself, and that stronger version is what creates real self-respect. So remember this simple truth. Self-respect is not just how you think about yourself, it is how you behave with yourself. And discipline is that behavior in action. If you want to respect yourself more, start by doing small things consistently. Keep your promises, even the small ones. Because your future self is watching how you treat your present self. Chapter 6. Letting go of approval from others. Now we are going to talk about something that controls most people's life without them even realizing it. That thing is approval from others. In simple words, it means you want people to like you, accept you, agree with you, and validate you. And because of this, you start changing yourself slowly, again and again, just to fit in. Let us be honest here. Almost everyone wants to be liked. It is a natural human feeling. You want friends. You want respect. You want people to understand you. There is nothing wrong with that. But the problem starts when you start losing yourself just to get that approval. Think about your daily life. You are in a group. Someone says something you do not agree with, but you stay silent because you do not want to look different. You want to say no, but you say yes because you want to be accepted. You want to express your real opinion, but you hold it back because you are scared people might not like it. Slowly, without noticing, you start living a life where your actions are controlled by what others might think. Now, here is something very important. When your focus becomes other people's opinion, your own voice becomes weak. You start checking everything twice in your mind. Is this okay? Will they like it? Will they judge me? And in this process, you stop asking the most important question, which is this right for me? People who constantly seek approval start losing clarity about themselves. They stop knowing what they truly like. They stop knowing what they truly want because every decision is filtered through other people's reactions. And slowly, life becomes a performance instead of a real experience. Let us go deeper. Imagine you are always acting in a movie. In every scene, you are trying to make sure the audience likes you. You change your behavior depending on the crowd. You hide your real emotions. You laugh when you do not feel like laughing. You agree when you do not agree. Over time, you forget your real personality. That is exactly what happens when you live for approval. Now think about this carefully. When you depend on others for approval, you give them control over your emotions. If they praise you, you feel happy. If they ignore you, you feel low. If they criticize you, you feel broken. So your mood is no longer in your hands. It is in their hands. And that is a very unstable way to live. Self-respect begins when you take that control back. It starts when you say, I will listen to others, but I will not lose myself for others. There's a big difference between listening and depending. Listening is healthy. Depending is dangerous. Now let us talk about fear. Why do people seek approval so much? The answer is fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being alone, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. These fears are powerful, and they quietly guide your decisions. You may think you are choosing things freely, but many times, fear is choosing for you. Fear tells you to stay quiet. Fear tells you to agree. Fear tells you to hide your truth. And when fear leads your life, self-respect slowly disappears. But here is something you need to understand. Not everyone will agree with you. Not everyone will like you. And that is completely normal. You are not supposed to be liked by everyone. You are supposed to be real. Now, this truth may feel uncomfortable, but it is freeing. Because once you accept it, you stop trying to please everyone. You start focusing on being honest instead of being liked. And that is where real confidence begins. Let us make it simple. If you say something true and someone disagrees, that does not mean you're wrong. It just means they see things differently. If you make a choice and someone does not like it, that does not mean your choice is bad. It just means it is not their preference. When you understand this, you stop taking everything personally. You stop overthinking every reaction. And you start feeling more free inside your mind. Now here's a powerful shift. Instead of asking, will they approve of me? Start asking, do I approve of this for myself? This small change moves your focus from outside to inside, and this is where self-respect grows. Because self-respect is not about being liked. It is about being aligned with yourself. It is about not betraying your own thoughts just to gain temporary acceptance. You will also notice something very real when you stop chasing approval. Some people may distance themselves. Some may not understand your change. Some may even question you. This is normal, because they were used to the old version of you, the version that always agreed, always adjusted, always stayed quiet. But here's the truth. The people who truly respect you will adjust to the real you. And the people who only liked you because you never said no will slowly step back. And that is not loss. That is clarity. That shows you who values you for who you are and who only values your silence. Now let us talk about freedom. When you stop depending on approval, something powerful happens inside you. You start feeling lighter. You stop overthinking every word. You stop replaying conversations in your mind again and again. You stop living in fear of judgment. You start expressing yourself more naturally. You start making decisions more confidently. You start feeling that your voice matters. Not because everyone agrees with you, but because you finally respect your own voice. And this is the real turning point. Because when you stop chasing approval, you start building self-respect. Not in theory, but in real-life actions. So remember this deeply. Approval from others is temporary. It comes and goes, but self-respect stays with you. And the moment you choose yourself over constant approval, you start becoming emotionally stronger, mentally clearer, and more real with yourself. Chapter 7. Becoming someone you can respect. Now everything in this journey comes together here. You have already understood self-respect from many sides. You have seen how it slowly disappears in small habits. You have learned about boundaries, self-talk, discipline, and the need for approval. Now the real question is not about the world around you anymore. It is about you. When you look at your life honestly, do you respect the way you are living right now? Not in a perfect way, not in a fake proud way, but in a real and honest way when you are alone with your thoughts. Because self-respect is not something that comes from outside people. It is something you build inside yourself through daily actions. It is created in small moments that look simple but shape your entire identity. The way you speak to yourself, the way you react when things go wrong, the way you handle your promises, the way you treat your own time and energy when nobody is watching. Let us be very honest here. Many people spend their whole life wanting respect from others. They want people to listen to them, to value them, to take them seriously. But at the same time, they do not take themselves seriously. They break their own promises, they ignore their own feelings. They stay silent when they should speak. They choose comfort over growth again and again, and slowly, without noticing, this creates a gap inside them. A gap between the life they want and the life they are actually living. Now think about your own life for a moment. When you wake up in the morning, do you trust yourself to do what you said you would do? When you make a decision, do you stand by it or keep doubting yourself again and again? When you look at your habits, do you feel a quiet respect for yourself or a quiet disappointment? These questions are not here to make you feel bad. They are here to make you aware, because awareness is the first step of change. You cannot fix what you refuse to see clearly. Now understand something very important. Self-respect is not built in one big decision. It is built in small daily choices. It is built when you choose action instead of delay. It is built when you choose honesty instead of excuses. It is built when you choose calm responses instead of emotional reactions. It is built when you choose your values instead of temporary comfort. Each small choice adds a layer to your identity, and slowly, without even noticing, you become the person you keep repeating every day. Let us imagine two people to understand this better. One person keeps breaking promises to themselves. They say they will study, but they do not. They say they will improve, but they stop after a few days. They say they will change, but they return to old habits again and again. Over time, this person starts feeling weak inside. Not because they are not capable, but because they stop trusting themselves. And when self-trust breaks, self-respect also becomes weak. Now imagine another person. This person also struggles. This person also fails sometimes. But they do not give up on themselves. They keep small promises. They try again. They do small actions even when they feel lazy. They stay consistent in small things. Over time, this person starts feeling stronger inside. Not because life becomes easy, but because self-trust is slowly growing. And that self-trust becomes the foundation of self-respect. Now let us go deeper. Becoming someone you respect does not mean becoming perfect. It does not mean you never fail or never feel low. It means you do not abandon yourself when life gets hard. Because real self-respect is not shown in easy moments. It is shown in difficult moments when you still choose discipline over comfort, honesty over excuses, and growth over delay. That is where your real character is built. Many people think self-respect is about how others see them. But real self-respect is about how you see yourself after your own actions. At the end of the day, when everything becomes quiet and you are alone with your thoughts, do you feel proud of how you lived today? Or do you feel like you betrayed your own promises again? This silent question decides your inner strength. If you keep breaking trust with yourself, you will slowly stop believing in your own decisions. You will start doubting yourself more. You will depend more on others for validation. But if you start keeping small promises to yourself, something powerful changes. You become calmer, you become clearer, you start trusting your own direction more because self-trust creates inner stability, and inner stability creates self-respect. Now think about your daily habits, not the big dramatic changes, the small ones. Do you respect your time or waste it without thinking? Do you listen to your limits or constantly ignore your tiredness? Do you speak honestly or hide your truth to avoid discomfort? Every small habit is shaping your identity, and your identity decides how much you respect yourself. This is not about guilt. This is about truth. Because once you see the truth, you can change it. Self-respect is not something you're born with. It is something you build slowly, quietly, through consistent choices that align with your values. Now something important happens when you start respecting yourself. You naturally stop chasing approval so much. You stop begging for attention. You stop over-explaining yourself to everyone. Not because you became rude or distant, but because you became clear inside. You start choosing people who respect your boundaries. You start leaving situations that drain your energy. You start living in a way that feels more aligned with who you really are. The way you treat yourself also sets the standard for how others treat you. If you constantly ignore your own needs, people will also ignore them. If you respect your time, people will slowly start respecting it too. If you value your voice, people will begin to listen more carefully. Not because they changed suddenly, but because your behavior changed first. Now imagine a version of you who does not constantly lie to themselves, who does not delay everything, who does not ignore their feelings, who does not depend on approval, who keeps small promises daily, who speaks honestly, who respects their own time, who trusts their own decisions. That version of you feels different inside, more stable, more peaceful, more confident. That is where real self-respect begins. And here is the final truth you need to hold on to. You do not need to become someone else. You only need to stop abandoning yourself. Start small. One honest choice, one small promise kept, one moment where you choose yourself without guilt. That is enough to begin. Because self-respect is not a destination you reach one day. It is a direction you walk every day. And every time you choose yourself, even in a small way, you move closer to becoming someone you can truly respect.